PantheonAI presents S&P nears breakout, silver hits 13-year high. Palantir CEO warns on AI war. Welcome to the PAI Morning Briefing. I'm your host, and it's June 5th, 2025. Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us as we dive deep into the markets, explore the trends shaping our economy, and really sift through those significant news stories making headlines today.
Yeah, it's going to be a packed show, isn't it? Lots to chew on. I'm actually really curious to hear your take on some of these market movements, especially after yesterday.
Absolutely. Let's kick things off with a quick market overview. The major indexes are definitely in focus this morning. You've got the S&P 500 standing at roughly 5,986 with a modest gain of about 0.015%. So not a huge jump there, but sometimes those small moves, they really hint at larger trends at play.
Right. It's like the calm before the storm, maybe? Or just a steady hum. What about the Dow and NASDAQ?
Exactly. Over in the Dow Jones, we're seeing levels close to 42,535, and that index edged up by approximately 0.11%. And the NASDAQ, always the darling of tech enthusiasts, is trading near 19,543, also showing a slight uptick, about 0.13%.
Okay, so pretty consistent across the board for the big three. But what about the Russell 2000? I always keep an eye on that for small caps.
Good call. The Russell 2000 is holding at roughly 2,109, and it actually had a more noticeable jump of almost 0.46%. So a sign that small cap stocks are buzzing with a bit more activity, which is interesting.
That is interesting. It kind of tells a different story than the larger indexes, doesn't it? Now, on the crypto front, I know volatility is never far away there. What's Bitcoin doing?
You're not wrong about the volatility, that's for sure. Bitcoin's at about 104,188, actually down by roughly 0.53%. And Ethereum, following suit, traded at around 2,569, dipping by nearly 1.5%.
Wow. So while the major indexes are kind of inching up, crypto's taking a bit of a hit. It really reminds you that even with institutional players getting involved, the digital asset space is still very much a roller coaster ride, isn't it?
It really is. It's that constant reminder. Now, let's go a bit deeper into some major market trends that have been grabbing headlines. We've actually seen a steady buildup of bullish sentiment, especially as investors keep a close eye on the S&P 500. There's growing chatter that this benchmark index has now gathered most of the ingredients to potentially hit an all-time high.
An all-time high, really? That's a big statement. So what's the magic number everyone's watching?
Many analysts are closely watching that psychological barrier just above 5,990. They see it as a catalyst for a potential summer stock market rally. It's like watching the opening moves of a chess game, Every piece has its strategy, and the more efficient plays we see, the more investors might lean in.
That's a great analogy. And it feels like this bullish outlook is especially intriguing, given that many expect this summer to be marked by cautious optimism and gradual recovery, right? With all the macroeconomic factors swirling around.
Exactly. And speaking of which, you can't help but notice this juxtaposition. The bullish narrative in traditional markets against that slightly bearish sentiment we just saw in the crypto world. With Bitcoin and Ethereum showing some retreat, the conversation naturally turns towards risk appetite.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Are investors hedging against uncertainty by shifting capital from volatile assets like cryptocurrencies into more stable equity markets? Or is this just normal volatility for crypto? It's an open question.
It really is. And it makes you think, what does risk even look like in today's incredibly intertwined financial ecosystem? The contrasts here just remind us that every market segment, whether it's traditional or digital, really follows its own set of rules and rhythms.
That's a really good point. It's not a one-size-fits-all market. So let's shift gears a bit. What are some of the other comprehensive stories making headlines today?
Well, first on our list is actually more of that repeated chatter about the S&P 500. Various news outlets are emphasizing that the index now boasts nearly all it needs to hit an all-time high. The recurring narrative here is clear. A close above 5,990 is seen as a bullish trigger.
It's interesting how that repetition works, isn't it? It's not just redundant. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. When multiple sources echo the same message, it really can signify broad investor belief and build that momentum.
Totally. There's this subtle but powerful undercurrent here. The market momentum is strong, and if that benchmark is breached, it could very well set off a chain reaction. fueling further buying and perhaps even ushering in a rally that lasts well into the summer months. Next up, there's a fascinating story on the strongest performing sector of this year.
Oh, I'm all ears for that. What's the narrative there?
It focuses on 10 stocks within the sector that are expected to lead the charge through 2027. This sector actually outperformed in 2025 and showed resilience even during the severe downturn we experienced in 2022.
Wow, that's impressive. It's a real testament to how some industries can weather storms and emerge even more attractive to investors. It's like watching a phoenix rise from the ashes, right?
Exactly. It offers a rich area for deeper sector analysis later. In another compelling headline, Palantir's CEO, Alex Karp, recently weighed in on the artificial intelligence debate with remarks that are as provocative as they are insightful.
Oh, I saw that. He's always good for a strong quote. What did he say this time?
He stated that the intensity of the AI arms race, especially between the United States and China, will eventually culminate in which nation ultimately leads the charge in this rapidly evolving technology landscape. He described AI as dangerous, stating emphatically, and I quote, "Either we win or China will win."
Whoa, that's pretty stark. I mean, you might chuckle at this stark ultimatum, but behind that humor, there's a very serious discussion about global competition, technological supremacy, and the responsibilities that come with deploying such transformative technologies.
Absolutely. This kind of head-turning commentary isn't just company rhetoric. It reflects deep concerns that resonate across industries, especially as governments and organizations grapple with defining ethical and strategic frameworks for AI. And finally, rounding out our major news segments, we have a colorful tale involving precious metals, specifically silver.
Oh, silver! Gold's been getting all the attention lately. What's happening with silver?
Well, after a significant rally earlier this year in gold, silver has now shot up to its highest level in 13 years. This jump isn't just about the numbers on the ticker. It's about the broader dynamics of market sentiment towards safe haven assets.
That's fascinating. I mean, sometimes in times of uncertainty or when inflation's on the radar, we do see investors flock to tangible assets like gold and silver. But silver catching up to gold after such a long period? That's really surprising.
It is, and it's indicative of evolving investor preferences. It makes you wonder, are we witnessing a reorientation of the precious metals market as it prepares to redefine itself in a new economic context? And more broadly, how might these movements in the bullion markets impact related sectors, like mining companies, or even renewable energy technologies that could benefit from sustainable mining practices?
That's a really interesting connection. It's those interconnections that make sector analysis so fascinating, right? Speaking of sectors, let's transition into a detailed discussion on the industries that are drawing the most attention.
Definitely. The technology sector, as many of you know, is constantly in the limelight, and today is no exception. With Palantir prominently featured in our news and its CEO making those bold remarks about AI, there's no shortage of debate on where tech is heading.
Yeah, and it's not just about gadgets and software anymore, is it? It's increasingly about sophisticated data architectures, cybersecurity, and, as we just discussed, the evolving dynamics of geopolitical competition in AI. Companies are doubling down on innovation while trying to navigate regulatory landscapes that are still very much in evolution.
It's enough to make even the most seasoned investor scratch their head, yet it's precisely this complexity that underscores the opportunity for high returns. Now, in the energy and finance sectors, we see a different kind of dynamism.
How so?
Energy, for instance, is being shaped by the acceleration in renewable sources and the global pivot away from fossil fuels, a trend that was painfully underscored by the challenges of previous years. Meanwhile, the finance sector is grappling with an evolving regulatory environment and the intriguing possibilities offered by decentralized finance.
It's like we're living in a financial renaissance, isn't it? Traditional institutions are learning from new age innovators, leading to these hybrid models that could really redefine what banking and investment look like. I always say, the only constant in the market is change, right?
It's practically a mantra for us investors, and in our comprehensive coverage of these stories, we really see that repetition isn't redundancy, it's reinforcement. The S&P 500's potential to break its long-standing barrier, the robust performance of that sector, expected to grow through 2027, and Palantir's stark warning about the future of artificial intelligence, they all coalesce into a clear message. turbulence and opportunity often go hand in hand.
That's a powerful takeaway. Markets are so dynamic, they're constantly evolving with innovation, global competition, and ever-shifting economic winds. And speaking of global, what are the implications there?
Well, the interplay between American tech giants and international competition, especially in the sphere of AI, is more relevant than ever. While the U.S. continues to be at the forefront of technological innovation, China's rapid ascent in AI and quantum computing is something investors cannot afford to overlook. This isn't just a technological race. It's a race that could determine economic supremacy for decades.
It's a huge deal. And as global policymakers deliberate over data privacy laws, cybersecurity requirements, and economic sanctions, the wider market is being reshaped in real time. The ripple effects of these decisions will undoubtedly impact everything from the smallest startups to multinational conglomerates.
Right, and let's not forget the tightening of credit conditions around the world, coupled with geopolitical tensions and the constant hum of regulatory challenges. This created a climate that really calls for careful navigation. Investors, especially those with an appetite for risk, need to ask themselves, where do we stand in this maze of macroeconomic headwinds?
Are we positioned to take opportunities on the horizon, or are we inadvertently exposing ourselves to risks that could be mitigated with a more diversified strategy? Those are the questions that keep you up at night, right? Though sometimes you can't help but chuckle at the irony of it all.
Totally. Expert insights, discussions, and a touch of humor aside, let's get to some key takeaways for today's episode. First, definitely take note of the S&P 500's potential approaching milestone. The theory is that a close above 5,990 could trigger renewed bullish sentiment. It's an essential watch point for those banking on the broad market rally this summer.
Absolutely. And second, consider the confirmed resilience in specific sectors, particularly those that have withstood past economic headwinds and now seem to be poised for rapid growth through 2027. These aren't just numbers. They're stories of perseverance and transformation that could signal the next big wave of investment opportunities.
Couldn't agree more. And that story about Palantir's CEO and his observations on the fierce AI competition, that's more than just bold rhetoric. It's a call to action. Whether you're an investor looking for high-impact growth stocks or someone interested in the intersection of technology and geopolitics, these narratives really validate the need to stay informed and agile.
And let's not forget silver's unprecedented rally. It reminds us that even traditional assets can surprise us when market sentiment shifts. For those who love a good twist in an otherwise predictable narrative, this is why you'll always keep tuning in, right?
That's why we do this. As we wrap up this segment and start looking ahead, let's consider what these insights mean for our portfolios and broader market strategies. It's a moment to reflect on the interconnectedness of these diverse themes, whether it's traditional equities, digital assets, or emerging tech.
How will investor sentiment mold the shape of markets in the upcoming months? What does the entry of artificial intelligence in almost every industry imply for long-term growth prospects? And perhaps more importantly, where do you, our dear listeners, see opportunities hiding within the details of these trends?
Great questions. Before we conclude today's briefing, I'd like to shine a spotlight on a few themes that deserve additional thought. One area to watch closely is the nexus of global tech rivalry. As the battle for AI supremacy intensifies, we might see increased investments in R&D, more aggressive regulatory stances, and a shifting landscape in global trade agreements.
It's a chess match with high stakes, one that could reshape entire markets. I always say, if you're not paying attention, you might just miss the next big breakthrough that could redefine the rules of the game.
And let's be honest, sometimes these discussions can get rather technical and heavy. But I like to throw in a bit of humor, to remind ourselves that even in the most serious market conditions, a lighthearted perspective can be refreshing. For example, if market volatility were a person, it might be that one overzealous friend at the dinner party who's a little too excited about fluctuating stock prices.
Oh, we all know that friend, don't we? It's a good reminder that while we take these issues seriously, sometimes you just have to laugh along with the unpredictability of it all.
Exactly. As we bring today's conversation to a close, let's do a quick recap of the key takeaways. We saw that the S&P 500 is inching towards a crucial threshold that could set off a bullish summer rally. We examined an exciting sector that has not only shown impressive endurance, but is also poised for significant growth until 2027.
And we heard those bold words from Palantir's CEO, a reminder of the intense global competition in AI. Plus, we took note of silver's impressive rally, the highest in 13 years, underscoring the dynamic shifts in traditional safe haven assets.
Absolutely. Additionally, the contrasting performance between traditional equities and cryptocurrencies threw open the door to discussions about risk, volatility, and the adaptive strategies that investors must embrace in today's multifaceted market landscape. Now, let me leave you with a few thought-provoking questions for the day.
Hit us with them.
How might the potential breakthrough of the S&P 500 influence your current investment strategies? Could the AI race between the United States and China be creating unforeseen risks, or perhaps unmatched opportunities that change how you view technology stocks? And what about the surprising turn of events in the precious metals market? Are we on the brink of a new investment cycle in safe haven assets?
Those questions might have different answers for each one of us, but they really underline the importance of staying informed and thinking critically about evolving market dynamics. And remember, this conversation isn't just about digesting information. It's about sparking curiosity and prompting us to look deeper into the underlying currents that drive our markets.
As always, we invite you to reach out with your questions and thoughts. You can always ask questions to our AI co-pilot here at PantheonAI, designed to help you navigate these complex waters and make informed choices. Before we sign off for today, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our listeners.
Whether you're tuning in during your morning commute or just catching up on the latest market buzz, your engagement is what keeps this discussion vibrant. We're here not just to report the news, but to provide context, expert analysis, and a friendly conversational take on what these developments mean in your world of trading and investment.
As we look ahead to tomorrow's episode, think about which market indicators you'll be watching closely and how the global tech and financial trends might adjust your strategies. What small changes might indicate a larger wave of movement in the days to come? It might be the slightest uptick in a well-known index or a subtle shift in sentiment among your preferred sectors.
Remember, learning shouldn't feel like a full-time job, but it can be as rewarding as it is enlightening. Thank you again for joining us this morning.
I'm your host from PantheonAI, and this has been your PAI Morning Briefing, a session full of insights, analysis, and the occasional lighthearted moment to remind us that while the markets are serious business, we don't always have to be too serious about them. Keep these key takeaways in mind, stay curious, and above all, remain adaptable.
We'll be back tomorrow with more market insights, and until then, keep questioning, keep learning. Pantheon AI, your information co-pilot.
Because learning shouldn't feel like a full-time job. Take care and see you next time.